Domhnall Gleeson continues his quest to be in every single movie made this year. At least this time, he's actually the lead.
The creatures in the story are toys. They're toys, but the woods are real. And the size is wrong. The bear should be smaller. Size of a little brother. There. Yes. Yes, that's it.
Blue, are we writing a book? I thought we were just having fun.
We're writing a book and we're having fun.
I didn't know you could do both at the same time. You don't usually look like you're having fun while you're writing.
Goodbye, Christopher Robin is the true tale of how the Winnie the Pooh books and stories were written. Author A.A. Milne, how he based it on his real-life son and his stuffed animals, and what the consequences were for that decision. Biopics are a big thing. They continue to get bigger. Is this one worth watching? Well, here's 5 things you might want to know about Goodbye, Christopher Robin. I actually really enjoyed this film, and I gotta say, one of the reasons is I loved learning about this world. In 2 ways, I found this movie really insightful. Number 1, it's insightful to the era in which it happened. This movie makes no qualms about the ways people parented in that time, the things people did. Now, the time frame, in case you don't know when this story was being written, was the early 20th century. So, the time between World War I and World War II. And the way it captures the culture with being honest and at the same time not judgmental is really powerful and insightful. The other insightful part about this has to do with the story itself. I loved learning about how Winnie the Pooh and his friends were created, about the family life that it revolved around and what that meant to this family when it blew up the way it did. A lot of times we think instant fame and the problems that come with it are only a technological thing that happened in this era, but it happened in other eras too, and I found that fascinating. I really feel like these biodramas are becoming some of my favorite films because I love getting into the guts of the reality of what happened. The other thing I have to say right off the bat about this movie, I laughed a lot. It's really funny, which is interesting considering the era it's in and the types of things that are going on. It doesn't seem like a movie that would lend itself to humor, but it's a very good sense of humor, a sense of relationship humor, a sense of authentic humor. None of the laughs here are cheap. They're all earned because you know these characters, you know these relationships, you understand the relation of the joke to what's going on. I found that this movie was not only funny, but was intelligent funny, which I love. But you know what it really comes down to? I think it comes down to Domhnall Gleeson. I think he is great here. I wasn't sure how he would do in a biopic, taking the center stage, embodying this real life person, but he's so good. The performance is really restrained. There's not a lot of gregariousness to this person. It's not over the top in any way. So all of his acting kind of has to be right there under the surface, which is not easy to pull off. But there's something very humane about this character he's playing. There's an authenticity to it, not just in the compassion that this character shows, but also in the selfishness that this character shows. I mentioned this era and kind of the parenting that went on and different things. And I don't want to give anything away other than to say this character does some things that in today's light you would think are selfish and bad parenting and awful. And the movie's not afraid to live in that and let this character, in Domhnall specifically, embody this character with a selfishness and a compassion, and both of them feel real. Now, as for that tone, I guess that's where we get to our first warning, our first yellow. This movie's really sad. There's a lot of sadness in this film, and the movie is not afraid of it. It doesn't shy away from it. And I think that's one of the reasons it's good. There's a lot of humor, because there's also a lot of sadness in what's going on here. Now, if that's going to bother you, this is a fair warning. For me, I actually loved that because that's reality. That's humanity. We live in life that is full of sadness. And also at the same time, and sometimes even in the same moment, it's full of gladness. And that is the craziness of being human. And it's all right here in this family. But if that bothers you a little bit, that you're going to experience sad things, fair warning. There is one negative to this movie, at least as far as I could see. And that has to do with the story manipulation. Sometimes in a true story, you can feel where it's manipulating you to feel a certain way. And the end of this movie just doesn't quite feel authentic to the story. I think I can tell what actually happened, and yet how they want to play it for emotional benefit just felt a little forced to me. And that can be a decent sized thing. Still, overall, I thought it was a wonderful movie. Certainly well worth watching just to learn about this story and to learn about that era. I had a few laughs. I had a good time. Overall, I gave it an A-. Thanks for checking out this Your Movie Friend review. We'll get to the best ever challenge here in a bit. Before we do, though, let's connect further. I'd love to hang out with you on Twitter. Aaron Dicer is my name, and also my Twitter handle, AARONDICER. We have a lot of fun there. Also on the podcast, have a blast there. If you listen to podcasts, search out SiftPop, SiftPop. It's a weekly pop culture podcast. Have a blast going into a little more detail on some of this stuff and playing some fun games, all that kind of cool podcast stuff. Also, YouTube, feel free to subscribe, comment, all that great stuff on YouTube. Much appreciated. And if you want to support, if you like what's going on here at the channel, the Patreon is patreon.com/yourmoviefriend. Starts at $3 a month. Some pretty fun perks. Thanks to the amazing support that's been coming in for the channel. We're going to be adding a weekly video to the channel here pretty soon because we passed one of those levels. So thank you for that. I very much appreciate it. All right, on to the best ever challenge. This is where you name the best movie ever in a particular category. Also try to identify my choice. Let's go with best ever movie featuring a bear. There has to be a bear in it, at least that would be, you'd say, oh, there's a bear in that movie, not just like in the background, that kind of thing. I have to go with the one that also featured a horse made into a sleeping bag. That's really grotesque, and it was in the movie as well. Take a guess at mine in the comments. First person to get it right does get that point. As always, I'd love to hear your choice there too. And I'll give you a few extra seconds to hit subscribe. All you got to do is click my face.